Let me picture this for a second. It's a really specific kind of improbable scenario. You have a major military launch.
Right.
We're talking 8 high-value cruise missiles, all designed to hit something, deep in enemy territory.
The best they've got.
Exactly. They fire off perfectly from a naval base, everything looks good, and then the very last missile in the group is just obliterated instantly.
But not by the enemy?
Not by the enemy, by its own side, like just a few hundred yards from where it launched.
And that's not a hypothetical. I mean, this actually happened. The source material for our deep dive today is, well, it's a detailed analysis of a video transcript that documented this exact thing. A Kalibr missile launch from Novorossiysk that went completely wrong.
So our mission here is to unpack that. We want to really isolate this sequence of events, figure out where the launch came from, and try to understand what a failure this big, what it really implies about their command and control.
And this wasn't just a technical glitch.
No, this was friendly fire on one of their most valuable, longest-range weapons.
And the location, Novorossiysk, that just makes it all the more significant. It's one of the most important naval hubs for the entire Black Sea Fleet.
So a major base.
A critical base. And the Kalibr missile is their main long-range punch. So for a launch this big to go this wrong, this close to home, I mean, it says a lot about the kind of stress they're operating under.
The video itself it's just wild to watch because of the scale. We're not talking about one little missile test.
Yeah, not at all.
You can see all 8 Kalibrs launching almost at the same time from a warship that's, still tied up at the dock.
It's still right there inside the naval base, yeah. It's a huge deployment, and the idea is to just overwhelm a target's defenses.
So what's the normal flight plan for something like this? How's it supposed to work?
Well, the operational profile is pretty specific. When they launch, they go almost straight up. Then they do this kind of looping maneuver. That's the transition from the boost phase to the cruise phase. And after that, they'd straighten out, drop down to a low altitude, and, hug the terrain as they head west towards their targets in Ukraine.
And the person who filmed this, they didn't even realize they were seeing a disaster at first, did they?
Not at all. The source points out how confused the filmmaker was. They actually thought they were watching a successful strike.
You're kidding.
No. They thought the missiles were hitting a target right there inside the base because the explosion was so close.
Wow. Which just tells you how close this whole thing was. I mean, it's absurd.
It's completely absurd. You would never launch 8 cruise missiles that cost millions of dollars to hit something a few hundred yards away inside your own base. That initial confusion really just hammers home how immediate and unexpected this failure was.
So the first 7 missiles, they launch, they do their loop, and they head off. No drama there.
All normal.
But this is where it gets, truly interesting. The 8th missile, the final one.
Yeah.
It gets tracked and intercepted.
Yeah.
Not by Ukraine, not by NATO, but by Russia's own air defense.
Yeah, the source material, just from analyzing the video, is very, very clear on this. This is where you see that total breakdown in what they call IFF, or identification friend or foe protocols.
Let's talk about that. The interceptor, what does the video show? What actually shot down their own missile?
All the signs point towards a Pantsir system.
Okay, what's a Pantsir?
So the Pantsir is a mobile short-range air defense system. It's basically a point defense weapon. Its whole job is to protect really important places like military bases, airfields, or, well, in this case, a naval port.
Right.
We know the Kalibr's launched from inside the base, but the Pantsir's missile, the surface-to-air missile, you can see it launched from a totally separate spot, further to the right of the ship.
So you've got 2 different Russian military units, one launching a cruise missile, the other running an air defense system. And they're operating, within a few hundred yards of each other?
Incredibly close quarters, inside the same safety perimeter, and they're obviously not talking to each other.
That's a staggering failure of command and control.
It is. Think about it. For a launch this big, the flight path data has to be sent to all the local air defense crews immediately.
It's kind of rule number 1, right?
It should be. That data tells the Pantsir crew, hey, this thing on our scope, this speed, this altitude, it's ours. Do not shoot.
But they shot.
They shot. The fact that the Pantsir operator mistook their own missile for an incoming Ukrainian one, maybe a drone or a Neptune missile, it just suggests that either that data was never shared, or the operator was so panicked or maybe so poorly trained that they just fired without confirming.
When you think about the pressure that operator must be under, their whole job is to stop immediate threats. So does the source say anything about why the IFF failed? Like, was it a technical glitch or was it just human error?
The video can't confirm a hardware failure, of course, but the context really points to bigger institutional problems. The entire airspace should have been cleared for a launch like this.
Be conflicted, right?
Exactly. The failure suggests their communication protocols are just not robust. Or maybe, and this is critical, the operators are being told to engage anything suspicious and to do it fast because the threat is so constant.
And the result is, well, it's catastrophic.
Catastrophic. They just destroyed a multi-million-dollar missile before it even got 5 miles from home.
So what happens then? A huge missile gets blown up at low altitude. The physical fallout from that has to be immediate and dangerous.
Oh, absolutely. The wreckage of the Kalibr just came plummeting down. Now, most of the big pieces, the bulk of the missile, landed in the water, so they avoided a major disaster on the ground.
Okay, so that's lucky.
Very lucky. But the source confirms that smaller fragments, which are still incredibly dangerous, mind you, did land over the city of Novorossiysk itself.
The irony is just, you can't miss it. A Russian air defense system, there to protect its own people, ends up dropping missile parts on them because of a friendly fire incident.
It's a perfect physical example of total operational chaos. And that leads us to the next logical step, trying to figure out where this launch came from, because that tells us about the bigger picture for the Black Sea Fleet.
And the source has a theory on that.
A very strong one. Since exactly 8 Kalibr missiles were launched from one ship, we can deduce with, I'd say, a high degree of confidence that the ship was a Buyan corvette.
But Buyan, why is that specific ship so important?
Well, the Buyan is a smaller ship. It's designed for coastal waters, but its strategic value comes from the fact that it carries those 8 vertical launch tubes for the Kalibr system.
So it's a key strike platform for them.
A very key asset. And the detail that the launch happened from inside the port is also telling. It means they didn't have to risk sailing out into the Black Sea, where they're, extremely vulnerable to drone attacks these days.
It's like a fascinating detail. It suggests a certain urgency, maybe, or a real unwillingness to risk these high-value ships.
Yeah.
So if we zoom out and look at the whole Black Sea fleet, what's the status of these Buyan corvettes?
And this is where the data gets really crucial and probably explains some of that operational stress we were talking about.
Right.
The Black Sea Fleet is supposed to have 4 of these Buyan corvettes, 4 ships that can do these strikes. But realistically, only 2 are probably available for action right now.
Only 2. Why so few? Where are the other 2?
Well, the sources are pretty specific. One of them is just completely out of the fight. It's stuck over in the Mediterranean and Baltic Seas. It's just too far away to be involved.
Okay, so that brings them down to 3 potential ships. What about the last one?
The 4th ship's status is, well, it's highly questionable. It was damaged pretty badly back in August. It was a really messy situation.
What happened?
It got hit in its radar area by an FPV attack drone, which is a relatively cheap, small weapon. And then, to make matters worse, it actually collided with a tanker during that same incident.
Wow.
Yeah. And the source is very clear that we have no idea what the repair status of that ship is. It could be out of commission for a long time.
Wait, hold on. So you're telling me this big 8-missile launch likely came from a fleet that is operating with maybe only 2 of these key ships fully ready to go?
That's the implication, absolutely. The pressure to maintain this appearance of capability of being able to launch a full salvo probably forces a really high operational tempo on the few ships they have left.
And when you're rushing things with a strained fleet.
That's when communication breaks down. That's when safety protocols get missed. The systemic failure we saw, the inability to coordinate a launch inside their own protected base, it feels like a symptom of a much deeper problem, a problem of logistics and battle damage.
So you have this huge technical and logistical mess, and it's all captured on video. In today's world, mistakes like that, they don't just go away. How does the source think this will be spun? What's the narrative?
They predict a classic propaganda pivot. The expectation is that Russia might actually share this video themselves.
To show their own failure.
No, to show their success. They'll claim the Pantsir system worked perfectly and that it intercepted an incoming Ukrainian threat. They'll say it was, a Flamingo drone or maybe a Neptune anti-ship missile that it shot down right over the naval base.
So the screw-up gets reframed as proof that their system works. That's some next-level damage control.
It is, and it does 2 things for them. Domestically, it keeps up the illusion that their defenses are solid. And internationally, they can try to use it to sell more Pantsir systems by countering the narrative that the system isn't very effective.
And you mentioned it has a bit of a track record.
A very controversial one. This incident isn't happening in a vacuum.
So the source connects this to a larger pattern of the Pantsir, engaging the wrong things. What does that history look like?
It's a truly bizarre list of targets. If you add this Kalibr missile to the tally, we are talking about a system that has reportedly engaged, well, some highly unusual non-threats in the past.
Yeah.
Like pieces of civilian infrastructure. There are reports of it hitting an apartment building. And even in other instances, civilian aircraft.
That is a pattern. It
Yeah.
paints a picture of a system that's either really aggressive or maybe just overly sensitive. And when you combine that with operators who are stressed or poorly trained, you get these repeated high-profile disasters.
Exactly. This wasn't just a one-off mistake. It's part of a very disturbing pattern of misidentification.
So if you look at those past failures, this one, what does that say about the overall air defense protecting their most important assets?
Well, it raises a huge question, doesn't it? If your point defense system can't tell the difference between friend and foe during a pre-planned launch from its own base, then how can anyone be confident it could handle a real chaotic surprise attack?
Let's just pull this all together for a second. We start with this high-stakes launch of 8 Kalibr missiles.
Okay.
It's coming from a depleted M fleet that's clearly under a lot of strain.
Right.
And one of those missiles is immediately shot down by their own Pantsir air defense system with an operator who made a terrible mistake, which then causes debris to rain down on their own city.
And the real takeaway here isn't just operator error, it's systemic failure. It shows these deep connected problems, a breakdown in command and control, logistical limits forcing them to overuse the few assets they have left, and this institutional pressure that leads to really dangerous decisions.
Which brings up a big question for you to think about. What does an incident like this, happening over a supposedly secure home base, tell you about the real state of coordination inside a highly centralized military? I mean, this isn't the fog of war on the battlefield. This is a failure of basic safety protocols right at home.
And that leads to one final thought for you to consider. Knowing that these key naval assets, these Bion-M corvettes, are either stuck somewhere else or confirmed to be damaged. It really suggests that these big 8-missile launches might be driven as much by the need to project capability as they are by actual military necessity.
A show of force.
A show of force. And the ultimate failure, the destruction of that 8th missile, that's just the most visible symptom of these deeper problems, resource constraints, and internal failures that started long before anyone pushed the launch button.
A really concerning look at the operational reality behind the headlines.
Indeed it is.